turn. Indicator left, down the slope. What a shot. What a shot, is it? Oh, would you believe that? Rory McIlroy. What a round of golf. It's one outside the Augusta course record.
Hold that. Here it comes. Oh my goodness.
This is way more aggressive than I anticipated. Oh, man! What a shot! I'd say that's pretty good. Whoa!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Putting for Dough show. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Jack Humphrey. We are, however, 2-ball this week, Jack, or bit of match play going on. Just me and thee. Anyone who tunes into the show on a weekly basis will notice that there's a big hole left. The father of the show, Father Time, Mr. Mark Ferguson, is not joining us this week as he's neck deep in PowerPoint. But hopefully we'll have him back next week if he comes back from his conference safely. But Jack, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I think Mark's just trying your tactic, Nick. I think he's just not going to show up this week so he can get a win in the pod host league. And I must say congratulations to you again. You've gone back to back. Robbie Shelton finally sort of come through for you again, didn't he? After a poor first day, he sort of got his act together on the Friday, made the cut, and you had a nice 6 of 6. I would have been there with you if it wasn't for, I won't swear yet, for Aaron 2-glove condom hand Wright, who absolutely screwed my lineup. Thanks a lot. But no, it was a good week. A good week at the Honda. I made some profit. I hit about half my tournament lineups. All my cash double ups yet again hit. So yeah, a nice little bit of profit made. I'm getting closer. I was going back through it earlier today because obviously I've been doing the newsletter. Sorry, folks, I nearly had the newsletter out, but my computer went a bit loopy about 10 minutes before we come on, but I will have it out after the show. It's all done. It just needs to I need to literally press publish and it will go out. So that'll be in your news boxes after the show. But I was looking back over my sort of form this year and I'm hitting the strategy right every week so far. Mm-hmm. Either playing the top 2 guys that I play, normally John Rahm, or last week when I said no, I was going to fade Sung Jae Im. That worked out lovely. I pivoted to Lowry. I went to Horshaw obviously as well, which started off okay. I mean, he had the first round lead, didn't he, Horshaw? And then he sort of went away towards the weekend there. But all 3 of the guys in the newsletter last week yet again made. Hang on, if you don't sign up to the newsletter, then you're losing out on money. Like between me and Mark on there, like you could build lineups for fun, and we're just printing money. I don't understand why you wouldn't sign up to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Good week last week, like you said, 6 out of 6 over the line. I was quite surprised. I thought Shelton was dead in the water after that first day. I think he shot 4 over. But just had an absolute, it was a great round second day. I think he got himself back to about 1 under, but I think the cut had gone out to 1 over. So he was comfortably in the cut line there. But it was just the 6 of 6 lineup. It could have ended up better than it did, in fairness. like I had Ben Taylor in there who he didn't really do much on the last day. He had 3 really good days, but then just didn't really do anything on the last day, which killed the lineup off a little bit. But actually, over the course of the weekend, quite a good profitable week actually, and got some tickets off the back of it as well. Managed to snag myself an MLB opening day ticket. Managed to snag myself a golf millionaire ticket, and it's the first week, Jack, that I've really been playing double ups, and
Welcome to the club.
I like that double up. It just like you said, if nothing more, it got the stakes were back, and there were single entry double ups what I was entering, because I'm sick of previous weeks having the right players in the pool but the wrong combination in lineups.
Yeah.
It's been driving me insane. So I thought this past week, do you know what? I am going to go a bit lighter, as the field itself wasn't fantastic. So I'm going to go a bit lighter, and we're just going to play the same lineup in every single contest. And you know what? If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, that's fine. At least it should hit in the double ups, which is exactly what it did. And then it hit in some of the other contests as well, coming out with a little bit of cash profit and some of the tickets as well. So I think this week it's going to be rinse and repeat for me. I don't think I'm going to change that. I'm just going to do exactly the same thing this week.
Well, I sort of shared with you in our WhatsApp group on the way that I play. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to give it out on the show, and I'm not going to give it out to anyone on social media. Nick knows how I play, and I think people will be very surprised the way that I play, and what I do. But yeah, that is no spoiler. I do play the double ups. There's a reason why I do it. I basically, they're like my insurance policy on the week, and it's only failed me 1 week since September, as I've mentioned before. It's worked every week. And me and Mark were talking about it. You can have a 4 or 6 in a double up, and you're probably going to cash. Yep. So, David, there, it's for elite group only. It is and it isn't. No, I'm not going to give out my secrets. I mentioned this in the group earlier, that the best DFS players in the world don't share anything. I shared with you my tournament core each week, and if you follow that, you would have made a lot of money this year. So, but I'm not giving out my full secrets on what I do. But all I would say is you'd be very surprised at what I do. But it's working. I'm going to stick to it. I'm glad that you've got into the double ups, Nick. I know David's playing the double ups now. I know Marcus as well. Yeah. I think all of us have got into it, and it's kind of a foolproof plan really for golf. It kind of, like I say, as long as you've got 4 or 6, you've got a good chance of hitting it. And I only had a 5 or 6 last week. Thank you, Aaron Rye, in my double ups, but it cashed easily. Like, I was near the top of the leaderboard on a few of them. Just it's all the same. Like, you can finish first, or you can finish like 100th, and it's still like on the $5 $5 double up. You're still winning $10. But yeah, it's a good way to play, and I kind of recommend anyone playing double ups like for golf. I think it's a foolproof plan, personally.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there is going to be the odd week where you might not hit, but most weeks where I've entered the larger contests, still with low entry number, but you're up against a bigger field, and if you don't get someone through the cut, it's probably going to punish you. Whereas, like you said, in double ups, you can probably afford 1 or 2 not to make it and still have a good chance of falling into the cash, because you only really need to fall middle of the pack and above. Yeah. So I'm going to repeat that again this week, definitely, because it worked last week, and I'm quite confident in my core of golfers this week. And I think there's some gems a little bit further down the price board as well this week that make building the lineups quite good. which I'm sure we'll come to a little bit later on. Full Swing, Jack. I've now finished it.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought it got better as it went on. I think the highlights, the Joel Damon episode is brilliant. He's the closest I think you get to a normal person being a professional golfer. And they're all normal people, obviously, but he's the most relatable, I feel like, from what we've seen. Quite enjoyed the Thigala episode, actually, to see what it means to someone who's trying to break through for that first win on the tour, and that was really good. And the Tony Finau episode, being a family man myself, was that was a nice episode to see.
With the Finau one, did you see what I meant when what I said last week about Finau maybe being a candidate for Liv down the line? Did you see what I mean by that? With his family?
Yes. Yeah. Because, well, it appeals because he would get paid a shed ton. He would be playing less golf.
Yeah.
Would mean he can spend more time with his family. Yeah, I could see that. I could see it. Interesting.
No, I think the only thing that would stop that, obviously, Tiger Woods is his hero. Like, he kind of mentions that in that documentary, that Tiger Woods is his hero. So I think he has a lot of respect for Tiger. So I think that might be one of the only things that could sort of stop that.
Well, the other thing that could stop it, Jack, is the developments today from the PGA Tour.
You just want to get me going.
I do. I'm building it up. I'm building it up. For those who haven't seen, obviously there's been elevated events this year. The PGA have decided that anything that isn't a major or the players, so the elevated events, will be shorter in terms of like the golfers. I think they're going down to 70, is it? 70 golfers?
Between 70 and 78, I've heard. And
no 36 hole cut.
Yeah.
Which means you've got the full 4 days chance to be up there in the leaderboard. So I guess it maximizes income for some of the golfers that maybe wouldn't have made the cut. But you've still got to be a high ranked enough golfer to be entering those kind of events. So yeah, I don't like it from what I've read about it. I kind of understand where some of the pros are. Like, I think McIlroy had said that the people that are sponsoring these events want the big golfers there. Like, I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's just not. I think there's space in the game for no cut events. But if I wanted to watch that, I would watch a different product that's doing no cut events. For me, the no cut events that happen on the PGA Tour aren't particularly events that I enjoy. And it's going to impact us as DFS players as well, selfishly.
Yeah, I mean, where do you want me to start with everything this week in the world of golf, Nick? I was in a foul mood on, was it Friday? I think it was. I put in our group. I mean, I was in a really, really bad mood. I was commenting on everything about golf, basically. Let's start. I'll start with Liv. And, I've been I'm not a supporter. I'm not one of these people that goes on Twitter. I'm not one of these nutcases that tells everyone that you've got to choose a side, blah, 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 blah. I just don't care that people go and earn a ton of money. And I do believe that golf needed a change. Anyway, to Liv. I'm watching it on Friday. Turn it on the app. I'm there cooking dinner. I thought, I'll watch a bit of that on the app on my phone. I turn it on. All I can hear is music during the comms. I'm like, what is this? I thought it was just like dodgy sound to start with. So I turned it off, turned it back on. No, it's still there. And then I messaged a couple of people on Twitter. It was still there going on. I could hear like Flow Rider in the. I was like, seriously, this is like driving me insane. I think I lasted about 10 minutes. I just turned it off and I didn't watch any more live. Like whether they may well have got rid of that on the Saturday and the Sunday. I don't know. Did not watch anymore. It was so off-putting, like so annoying. Like I've been to a live event. I went to the first London one. There was a lot of music around the event. I don't mind it when you're there on the course. Don't mind it at all. I just don't want to hear it on the comms. Like I'm trying to listen to the commentators. It's so annoying. That got turned off straight away. Then we go to the Honda, which, you know, bit of a limited field. I actually really enjoyed the event. I thought the event was great. And then you get this thing with the PGA Tour where Chris Kirk launches one into the grandstand, which, you know, I saw people moaning about John Rahm the other week, blah, 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 whatever. What baffled me is the drop they gave him was like 25 yards away from where he hit the grandstand. It put him in a really favourable position. And it like literally was like a light little chip on a lovely line because he got to place the ball. I'm sorry, if you hit the grandstand and that ball lands next to it, you should have one club length drop away from the grandstand. That gives you a swing. I don't care what lie you've got coming off of that. You're the one who whacked the ball. If me and you go and play golf, Nick, there's no grandstand there to stop our ball. Our ball's going about 100 yards down there. Yeah, or it's going out of bounds.
Yeah.
So I had that. But then what's even more stupid is it's the same player here. Chris Kirk then goes and nails one down a fairway. And I mean, absolutely crushes it down a fairway. His ball lands in a divot. So we're not going to give anyone like relief from a divot, which from a really good shot that he's now, but we're going to give him relief from a fucking grandstand. Like, mate, it really wound me up over the weekend. Like, just like this is just stupid. Like the rules are stupid. The rules of golf need to change. They're ancient. They need to change. I don't know what you do in regards to the grandstand thing. I don't know if you give the guy a stroke penalty for hitting it. That could be something you do. I don't know, but 25-yard drop away, like it was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And you know, these decisions affect the outcome of like the golf tournament at the end of the day. He went on and won, and you know, he probably should have had the shot dropped on him. And then can we talk about his idiotic decision to go for that green on? So I don't know if you caught much of it. I think you were watching the fight, weren't you, on Sunday night, Nick? But Chris Kirk on the 18th hole is a par 5, decides to go for the green into, and it just smashes it into the water, nearly hitting the Honda car in the water.
I have seen the shot actually.
It's like, what are you doing? Why is his caddy not in his ear just saying, let's lay this up like 100 yards away? You've got a 1-stroke lead. Like, oh man, that obviously that didn't really wind me up. I had no Chris Kirk anyway, so I had no like dog in the fight, so to speak, by the end there anyway. But the grandstand and the divot rule annoyed the hell out of me. And this change that the PGA Tour are going to is just ridiculous. I mean, I mentioned it 2 or 3 weeks ago when we was at Genesis. I said about this change that was coming in. And I said it's out of order on players like Nick Taylor, who finished, I think he finished second or third, didn't he, at the Waste Management? I can't remember now. But I know he finished second or third. It's disgraceful. It's out of order to those players. It's like a super league, basically. It only helped the elite golfers on the tour. And it's just a stupid idea. If I want to go and watch that, I'll watch Live. I won't be watching Live ever again after what I had to put up with Friday. I was in a foul mood.
Well, I will check Live next time and I'll let you know, because I didn't watch any this past weekend, so I can't comment on the music. But I thought it was a positive that we got an app for free. We can watch it free. But I'm with you. I don't really want to listen to music. If I'm watching golf, I actually want the commentary on it. It's one of the few sports where I think the commentary adds something to it. It's just like football commentary, for example. It's great, but like sometimes you'll have who's the guy? He's just never enthusiastic about any goal, and VAR has kind of done that to the game in a sense.
Yep.
Like you don't want to get up for a goal because you don't know if it's actually going to get given or not. Whereas in golf, I think like the commentary is like really key to the game. Like you couldn't watch golf without that commentary on it if it was on TV. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't like the music on it. I hate the no cut thing. I really do. And like you said, the golfers that are lower ranked, maybe this is good for the DP tour. In fairness,
It's not, because the PGA Tour control the DP World Tour. They tell them what they can and can't do. It's I don't know why the DP World Tour don't stick their middle finger up to the PGA Tour and say we're letting all these live guys play on our tour, blah blah blah. We're doing this, we're doing that. Have some elevated events on their own tour, but obviously have cuts on those elevated events. Like they could have all the Middle Eastern events elevated because there's loads of money in the Middle Eastern DP World Tour events. They could have Wentworth elevated, the British Masters, things like that. They could all have things like that elevated, and just stick their middle finger up to the PGA Tour. That's what I would do if I was the DP World Tour.
surely though, if they're only allowing golfers in at a certain rank into these elevated events, that it will help the DP tour because you might see some of the golfers who would normally have maybe played that event with a larger field might go over and play the DP tour events because of that global alliance. I'm sure the PGA probably wouldn't mind that happening.
Potentially, but then you've also got that issue that the PGA Tour often run another event side by side. Like for instance, they've got one this week, haven't they? So you've got Arnold Palmer Invitational, and then you've got the Puerto Rico Open. They're both PGA Tour events. That's what the PGA Tour do. So it doesn't really. And a lot of the guys live in America, so they're going to be like, "No, I'm not going over to the Middle East. I'm staying here. I'm going to go and play that event instead." It's all you're going to do is basically all you're doing with this. You're creating like an A league and a B league. That's all
it's basically a Premier League and a Championship, isn't it? That's what it's kind of creating.
It's not a good idea. I think what they've done this year with the elevated events is a good idea, and I think it should just stay the same as it is, and just swap the elevated events around each year. I think that'd be a good idea. Like you could have the Honda as an elevated event next year instead of the Genesis, for example. You know, or the Waste. I know Waste is not an elevated event next year. They've got rid of that as an elevated event. It's going to swap around on a few, but you could do something like that. Honda deserves to be an elevated event. That's a great golf course, PGA National. So yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't even mind if some of the events that start the year just became no-cut events just to start the year off. Like when they go to like Sony and the American Express and the Farmers. Like I wouldn't even mind if some of those earlier events were just like, I know some of them are already no-cut events, but I wouldn't mind if they just made some of them earlier events no-cut. But when it gets to some of the more serious golf, shall we say, as it's sort of getting into February and gearing up for the Masters, like I want to see cut making golf then. Like that's such a skill in golf. And in terms of DFS, I mentioned this on the group earlier. Don't really like what it does there because it takes away, like we put obviously loads and loads of research into our player pool and why we're picking players. I think no-cut events just takes away from that and just means that the casual viewer can pick a lineup of 6 golfers and take a chance that, you know, what they know that they're going to get 72 holes of golf out of them. There's always a chance that they're going to score reasonably well. They might not be in the mix after 2 days, but after 4 they might be. So we always say with the no-cut events, it's like you get that chance to kind of get a bit different and take a chance in your lineups. I don't really like that side of it either, if I'm being honest.
No, there's a lot of things with the PGA Tour that's wrong at the minute. They can't finish a frigging round at the minute either, which just annoys me. It baffles the hell out of me. You've got it. I think it was 14 years ago now. The amateur at the Masters, they penalised him. They gave him a 1-stroke penalty for slow play. Why are we not giving all these other players on tour penalties for slow play now? It's a joke. Like, get the rounds finished. I get it if there's bad weather. I get it, but there's been no bad weather at like the Honda last week. Just get the round finished. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. I think 25 minutes into the show, Jack, we probably better start talking about this week because it's a great event, this. Arnold Palmer Invitational, heading over to Orlando, Florida, to the Bay Hill Club and Lodge. Give us your course preview, Jack. Let's have a look.
Yeah, let's keep this short and sweet as we've been 25 minutes in as well. Like you say, Orlando, Florida, right up the road from Disneyland, actually. It literally is up the road from Disneyland, this golf course. It's a Dick Wilson design in 1961 with an Arnold Palmer redesign in 2009. It's a par 72 at 7,466 yards long. You've got water hazards on this golf course. They come into play on 9 of the holes. It's Bermuda everywhere, fairways, rough and greens. The historic winning score around here is 10 under par, and the historic cut mark is around 2 over par. So, again, another hard week, kind of what we would have expected at PGA National last week, except that golf course played a little bit easier than what we expected. We had no wind. We're going to get wind this week. This is a proper golf course. It ranked as the hardest non-major golf course in 2002 on the PGA Tour. 2022, sorry, on the PGA Tour. One of the features of this golf course that makes it like really hard is the rough. They let this grow really, really thick. Like the golfers have not seen rough like this all year. Even at Torrey Pines, the rough's not been like this. It's going to be like 4 inches deep rough, Bermuda rough. Ball's going to sit down in it. Greens around here on the larger size compared to what we've seen so far this season, but they are lightning fast. Absolutely lightning fast. I remember John Rahm on one of these greens last year, free putting from inside 3 foot, and that's John Rahm. They're lightning fast greens. We've got 84 bunkers, so sand saves is going to be vital stat to look at this week. Just all in all, a very, very difficult golf course, and it becomes even more difficult if the wind gets up. The wind's going to get up. It looks really bad on Friday afternoon. It's kind of constant throughout Friday, but Friday afternoon looks really bad. I'm currently favouring, I know we've had some questions on it, I'm currently favouring a PM, AM stack on Thursday and Friday. I'm going to monitor it up till the last hour, though, because I did this at Waste earlier in the year, and I've mentioned it in our group, Nick, at the time that I'm monitoring, there's some wind, I'm monitoring it, and I got on the wrong side of it. So just monitor it all the way up until lock, please. Just don't set anything in stone until lock.
Yeah. And if you've made transfers on the season-long game,
You're a fool.
Yeah, and that's all we need to say about that. Some of your key course stats then, Jack, I'm actually going to have to do a little bit this week because normally I'll defer to Mark, but we'll see what your rundown is, and then I'll give you mine, see how we differ. I'm no doubt we'll be fairly similar, though.
All right, so I've got strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained on approach, stroke gained around the green. Sorry, I'm trying to look through it now. My computer's so slow tonight. I've got bogey avoidance. I'm looking at that this week. Driving distance, driving accuracy. Didn't really mention that in the course rundown, actually. If you can bomb it down in this golf course, even if you do find the rough, it's kind of, I can't remember the golf course we had a few weeks ago like that. I think it was Genesis, wasn't it? Even if you do find the rough, but you've bombed it down there, you'll be hitting wedges out of that rough. So kind of favors you a little bit more there. I've got proximity from over 200 yards. This is, there's going to be a lot of long second shots into this place. Sand saves, as I've mentioned. Putting on strokes gained, putting on Bermuda. Putts inside the 10-foot range that we always look at. Strokes gained on par 5s. That's where you're going to do your scoring this week. Didn't mention in the course preview, but this place has 4 par 3s, and they all they're averaged about 200 yards long. I think the shortest is 192 yards long. So they're long par 3. You just want to get your pars there and get out the way. And then I'm looking at my comp courses, strokes gained at Bay Hill, which is this one. Obviously, it's kind of like using a lot more course history this week, a bit like the Masters that I normally do. and then strokes gained at Quail Hollow. That's my model this week. It's a little bit smaller than what I normally do, but tough golf course. I think course history around this place is vitally important as well.
Yeah, I have gone similar. I've strokes gained approach is my heaviest weighted stat, and within that, I've also got the proximity buckets of 175 to 200, and then 200 to 225. Strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained around the green, and strokes gained put in Bermuda. I've equally balanced. But then I've thrown in a little bit of driving accuracy. I've thrown in some sand saves. I've thrown in the puts inside 10 feet and then the 10 to 15 feet range as well. Strokes gained par 5, bogey avoidance. Course history, again, I have put some weighting on that this week. I've only gone with Bay Hill though. I nearly did Quail Hollow with it as well, but I thought I'll just focus on Bay Hill. There's some golfers in the field this week that really do go well round here, like the course history really stands out. And there's somewhere if you want to build a strong lineup, going to have to get a little bit cheaper. There's some golfers in even the 6K range that are consistent cut makers here. They're not great finishers. Like you're probably not going to get top 10s, top 20s out of them, but they make cuts consistently. That's going to be important, especially if you're building them top-heavy lineups. You're going to have to dip into that pool of players this week. So, yeah, we're fairly similar. So I reckon we're going to have a fairly similar kind of pool of golfers here. But without further ado, let's have a look at the field for the week. So
it's a strong field, 44.
It's a very strong field, as you would expect. Much different to what we saw last week. We've got the 3 big hitters this week in the 10K plus range. We've got Ram. It stands alone at 11.5. Scotty Scheffler at 10.9 and Rory McIlroy at 10.6. I'll start off with yourself, Jack. Previous weeks, it's been all about John Ram. Is it the same again this week?
It wasn't on Monday. It is now, though. Rinse and repeat. I wasn't going to go back to him, like I say, but I did a bit of a deeper dive on John Rahm at this golf course, and he is on the right side of the draw. He's on that AM side, that PM side to start Thursday, and that AM side on Friday at the minute. Not that I think it really matters for these guys at the top with the wind, because I think they're all great players and I think they can all deal with it. But I mean, he's won 3 times on the PGA Tour over his last 5 starts, John Rahm. That's absolutely incredible, man. Yeah.
To put into context, there are some golfers that don't even, like professionals, that don't even win on the tour, let alone win 3 events in such a short space of time.
Yeah. What did worry me is that he's only played the Arnold Palmer Invitational once, but that was last year. But what I did like is that he gained over 12 strokes last year, ball striking, and the only place that he lost strokes last year was around the green here. His game's in a much better place now, though. He's kind of struggled. He's kind of struggled last year, so I'm not particularly worried about that. He's number 1 in my model. I mean, he's just popping green everywhere. Like I could tell you, someone could say to me, "Where's he losing?" He's not. Like literally, he's green across the board. He's the number 1 player in my model. He's the number 1 player in the world. He's the number 1 player on my call list yet again this week. I don't care. He's played it once. He's on the favourable side of the draw. John Rahm gets another win.
I can't really back against it. However, I'm going to punish myself. And once again this week, I am going back to Rory. Former winner to start. His course history here is fantastic. He's never actually missed a cut here. And I think in his last 5 years, I think his worst finish is a 14th. He's got 3 top 10s. And I think within them 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s as well. obviously, like I said, he's a former winner. In recent weeks, so he played on the, was it the Abu Dhabi on the
Yeah, he
DP
won.
Tour? He won that with a putt on the last. He comes back over to the PGA Tour a few weeks later, makes the cut in both events, the Phoenix and the Genesis, but struggles a bit. The two areas of his game that he struggled in were putting and his short game, which in recent times, since Brad Faxon's been on board, he seems to have really got his putting under control and his short game. The last time he had 2 weeks like this where he was ropey in those two areas, putting and short game, was the FedEx St. Jude Championship last year. Misses the cut. Then the BMW the week after, he finished tied 8th. The week after that, where he'd lost strokes on both putting and his short game, he comes out and wins the Tour Championship. So I am going with Rory this week on the basis, as I said, course history's there, and the areas that he's fallen down on in recent weeks have been areas that have been really good, strong sort of performance areas for him in recent tournaments. His putting's been on point. His short game has been on point. He's a fantastic ball striker anyway, Rory. I think he's got one of the best swings. If Rory could sink a putt, it'd be half decent. Rory can sink putts. He's just not done it in the last couple of weeks. Rory can sink putts. If you look at his strokes game putting, like the Hero Dubai.
He's a better putter on Bermuda.
Yeah. DP World Tour Championship, over 4 strokes gained there. Nearly 3 strokes gained in South Carolina. When he won the Tour Championship, 6.5 strokes gained putting. Like, his recent tournaments have just been green in short game and putting. It's only in his last couple where he's fallen down a little bit. So I'm going to let history decide for me. And I'm going to back Rory this week to come back and win this event.
I agree with you. He's actually number 2 in my model and number 2 of my core plays this week. I've got a strategy again this week. I've like I say, I have a strategy going into every week when I play. And I've been nailing the strategy. I just haven't been nailing the guys around it that I have to build around the core generally. But Rory's course history here is just phenomenal. Like, he just loves this golf course. Like, if there's a golf course for Rory, it's this place. Like I say, he's a better putter on Bermuda grass as it is. I don't think he's a massive fan of the POA and all of that we've seen him been putting on recently. Doesn't often play them events either on the west coast of America. So I think we all have to remember that. And this was kind of what I was going to go to with Rahm, but I'd done the deeper dive on Rahm's performance at API last year. But I mentioned this a few weeks ago on the pod that with these elevated events, we need to be careful because some of these guys have never played these events before. And there's obviously a reason, or they've only played it once or twice, but there's obviously a reason why they don't want to turn up at these events in the past. Rory's played this event a hell of a lot. He will be the chalk cup here, but I really don't care. I say this to Mark and you all the time now, Nick. I don't care who's chalk up top. I'm just going to eat it and get different elsewhere. And I'm going to eat the chalk of Rory McIlroy up here as my number 2 core play this week alongside Jon Rahm, who's coming a little bit lower owned. And what we've been finding out with these elevated events is that these top 3 guys kind of even themselves out with the ownership anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Projected at the minute, Rory's the highest, but I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them come in around about the same. I like Scheffler as well. I think, you can go back there if you want. I'm just going to play Rahm and Rory over him. If I have an order, it goes Rahm, Rory, Scheffler. That's my order, personally.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, but flipping the top two around. I think as well with Rory, like you mentioned about the rough here, and it's thick. Like your ball's not going anywhere if it's going in that rough, and this is where it favours some of the golfers that have like faster swings. Rory's swing, like obviously swing speed that he gets up on his swings, he generates a lot of power. You see it off the tee. Bryson DeChambeau was a former winner here. He's another who's got a really fast swing, really powerful swing. So happen Rory is a little bit wayward off the tee and gets himself in trouble. He'll still find his way around this course quite comfortably. I think that's why he does so well here and why some of the other golfers maybe don't. I don't think that rough troubles someone like him as much because of how he does swing. And obviously he's a fantastic ball striker as well. We'll move on then, Jack, to the 9K range. Again, fairly small range this week. We've got Max Homer at the top, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Will Zalatoris, Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele. We've got Patrick Cantlay, and then Victor Hovland rounds us off at 9K. I think it's going to be difficult to dip into this range if you're going to build a top-heavy lineup with well, it's going to be impossible to dip into this if you're going to start your lineups off with Rory and Rahm. If you decide not to do that, who are you going for from this range, Jack?
Yeah, no, I must highlight that obviously that core is a tournament core. It's not a cash core. I will be starting my cash core off with Rory and someone else in this range, actually, in this 9K range. I'm not giving that out because I don't give my cash core out to anyone. Sorry, people, but that's just the way I go. I mean, I'll tell you who I don't like first. I don't like Justin Thomas. I think he's playing terribly at the minute. Hasn't played the Arnold Palmer since 2015. I think he finished tied 47th in 2015. I mean, he's a much different golfer compared to what he was in 2015. But it's what I mentioned a minute ago about these guys. There's a reason why they don't come to these events. They just don't like the setup or just something about it. Don't really care about the ownership of JT either. He goes out early as well on Thursday, so he's out late on the Friday. He's going to get all that bad wind. So I'm out on JT. I'm out on Morikawa. Morikawa just, I mean, for someone that's won the Open Championship, the guy can't play in wind to save his life. I was listening to a pod earlier. I can't remember who. It was the Lost for Words pod. Tom Jacobs. He mentioned it because he actually went to that event when Morikawa won the Open. And it was, I can't remember the name of the course. I know it was the one down in Kent on the open rotor that they have, but the course is like set back from the sea. So there's like no wind. It's like playing in a dome, Tom Jacobs mentioned. So Morikawa basically had the perfect setup for him for that Open Championship there. But yeah, I can't play Morikawa. Hasn't played here since 2020. He did finish 9th in 2020. Again, has only played here twice though. He finished 9th in 2020. And he played there in 2018 where he finished 64th. So not really a lot of course history from him here. I like Homer. The course history is there. Homer's playing so well at the minute. But interestingly, he's gaining. All of these strokes that he's gaining are with the putter, Max Homer. So that's an interesting stat. That's got to come back at some point. And maybe a switch to Bermuda grass won't suit him. I mean, there's a reason why he's called California Homer. Maybe he just loves that polar grass, but he does have good course history here, 17th, 10th, and the 24th over his last 3 visits. So good course history from Max Homer. I like Will Zalatoris. I like what I saw at Genesis. I was worried. I said we couldn't really play him until we saw what he was like coming off the injury, but he finished 4th at Genesis. That's a great sign. Good course history here, 38th last year and 10th the year before. So decent history there. Seems like a course that would set up well for Will Zalatoris. The only thing with Zalatoris is the ownership's coming in quite high on him at the minute. Probably a good cash option for people. Tony Finau, I don't. Again, I'm off of him. He's only played here once, and that was in 2020. He missed the cut. I'm totally off of Tony Finau. Seems like a course that was set up perfectly well for Schauffele, but has only played it once. A lot of these guys in this 9K range have skipped this golf course. Schauffele finished 24th in 2020. Cantlay's never played the course, but it did have that third at Genesis, which was nice to see from him. And I do like Victor Hovland, who was second here last year. My one worry with Victor Hovland is he loses stroke around the green, like loses a ton of strokes around the green. But he's dialed in with his irons and things. So, second last year. I know Victor Hovland can play in the wind as well. So I do like Victor Hovland in this range.
Yeah, similar kind of reasons to why you've eliminated people there. Like when I was doing the deep dive on Morikawa, like he ticked a lot of boxes in fairness, but like you said, the wind is a concern there.
He just can't play in it. I can't remember the name of the event the other week, and it was waste, wasn't it? The wind got up, and that was it. He missed the cut.
And everything else in his game at the moment is like I feel like he went through a bit of a struggling patch, but then he turned a corner. I think 4 of his last 5 events have been like around top 5 finishes. And then obviously the missed cut. And he's got a little bit of course history, but nothing to write home about. Like you said, he's finished 9th. But he, like that year, he actually lost strokes putting and around the greens, but his approach playing his tee to green was really good that week, like phenomenal, gained over 10 strokes in both of those categories. And he ranks high in stuff like driving accuracy and approach, but we know that about Morikawa. Like you said, if the wind picks up, that's a massive concern. So I'm kind of staying clear. Max Homa would probably be my pick of the bunch, and Zalatoris, to be fair. I do like Finau as well in this range. Hovland, I wish I liked, but again, for the kind of reasons that you said, he's at this short game. He loses too many strokes there for me. And it's consistent loss as well. Like it's not like an anomaly. So I think this range, in all honesty, I'm not that high on. If I'm going to Max Homa at 9-7, I'm thinking if I'm building a lineup that Max Homa's in, can I get myself to Rory McIlroy? I know it's like nearly 1,000 extra, but can I just push myself up that little bit more? Zalatoris 9-4. I think that's reasonable. I think he'd probably be my favourite play of the two in this range. But yeah, I'm with you. I completely agree with all them reasons there. I actually prefer the range below the 8K range.
I think we're going to like the same guy here.
Yeah, well, we will see. So in this 8K range, we got the plodder, Sung Jae, Matt Fitzpatrick, Cameron Young, Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, Tom Kim, Tyrrell Hatton, who he will surely not be coming off every hole saying about how shit this course is, because he's actually done really well here. He's won here in the past as well. Hideki Matsuyama, Sam Burns, and Killer Keith make up the 8K range. Go on then, Jack. Who is it that you like?
There's 2 players here I really like. I like Jason Day. He ranks 10th in my model this week. Decent course history here. Has missed the cut in 2 of his last 4 appearances here, but he was a much we know about Jason Day. He's had back issues, like family issues, etc. Before that, he had extraordinary course history here, like loads of top 5s and things like that. Just playing really well at the minute. Like he's playing so well. Like 9th at Genesis, 5th at Phoenix, 7th at the Farmers, 18th at the Amex. The win is going to come soon, isn't it? You can see it for Jason Day. He's trending in the right direction. The model loves him, so yeah, I like Jason Day, and I love the petulant child, Tyrrell Hatton. Like you say, Nick, is he going to walk off every hole swearing, saying it's a load of crap? Who knows? But fantastic course history here. 2nd last year, 21st the year before. He won it in 2020, 29th the year before that, and then 69th the year before that. He's got off to an okay start on the PGA Tour as well. I know he was 40th at Phoenix, but I think I'd put a lot of that in to the fact that he was playing with Tiger on the last round. He had a terrible terrible Sunday, Genesis. Sorry. But I put a lot of that playing with Tiger and the crowds that follow him. But he was decent at Phoenix, finished 6th there. We know Terrell can play in the wind. He's a very good links golf player. Has done well at the Dunhill Links Championship in the past. Yeah, I love him. Yeah, the only thing that can get in Terrell's way is himself.
Yeah, it's spot on. And yeah, the same guys again. That Jason Day was high up in my model. Sung Jae ranks high in my model, but I'm reluctant to play him because we mentioned it the other week. He's been poor his last 2 events.
Played 8 of 9 events this year already.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that event fatigue suddenly from him, which is a shame because he does rank really high in the model, but he's played a lot of rounds.
He's 3rd in my model. I'm not
he might be 2nd in mine. So I think Ram is top of mine, but yeah, he's high. But yeah, I'm with you on Hatton, former winner, 2nd last year. So this is a course he plays well at. You would suspect he's not going to be coming off each hole, cursing, swearing, doing whatever he does, throwing a bit of a paddy. I suspect he'll be popular because of his history as well. And recent form, Genesis excluded. But he's never missed a cut here. The only thing that concerns me in his game a little bit at the moment is doing a deeper dive on the stats is his approach play. But when he did come runner-up last year, he was gaining less than a stroke on his approach. So it's kind of like promising that was an area of his game that he wasn't particularly strong in last year at the time. He found enough throughout the rest of his game to still almost win this event. And Bermuda is his best putting surface as well. So I'm with you on Hatton. I really want to play Matt Fitzpatrick, but I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about the injury still.
If I'm going to throw a few dart throws in tournament plays, I'll probably have a look at Cameron Young. I'll probably have a go at Tom Kim as well, and Bermuda Burns. I'll probably go back there as well at some point in tournament plays. But other than that, I'm not really playing. I've bet a Decky, but I've got a really good number on the Decky. Other than that, I'm not playing anyone else in that range. Killer Keith is the ownership's just ridiculous. So I can't get there with that.
No, he's not even really on my radar, to be honest, this week.
No,
not at all. 7K Rangers, too many names to name here. So just rhyme off a couple of your favourites in this range, Jack.
Yeah, I won't go into a deep dive on them all. I'll give you my favourite play and then just give you a couple of other guys that I like. So Tommy Fleetwood's probably my favourite play in the range at 7,500. He ranks 8th in my model this week. I'm quite happy to go back to Chris Kirk because I don't think people will be willing to. He's got good course history here and he's not the sort of person who's going to go out partying. We know that he's got over some issues with alcohol in the past, so we know he's not going to be out partying with his win. So I'm happy to go back there. People just don't like playing winners. Shane Lowry, the course history here stinks, but has been showing some signs of life with his game recently. Led the field from tee to green in strokes last week at Honda. Just obviously couldn't get it done with his putter. Don't mind going back there. Ricky Fowler's a good one. Great course history around here, as has Keegan Bradley, but both are very popular with ownership. Si Woo Kim, I'll go back there. Consistent cut maker until Mark cursed him the other week. Gary Woodland, I'm quite happy to go there. Should have won this last year. Was it last year? Yeah, he should have won it last year. Him and Victor were dueling all the way down to the end, and then Scotty Scheffler come in and mopped it all up and won. But yeah, happy to go to Gary Woodland. Bit lower, Tom Hoagie at 7,300. Great iron player. Quite happy to go back to him. Minwoo Lee, very impressed with what I saw in his first PGA outing of the year last week. Happy to go back there. Seabez at 7,100. Quite impressed with what he put up last week. Played okay. I had him a couple of showdown lineups last week, which I was very profitable on. He done quite well for me there. And then a couple of pump plays for me, Bo Hostler and KH Lee, just because I know that they've both got high scoring, sort of winning upside from the pair of them. So I don't mind going there. I don't like that Q tag next to Sam Ryder, who's going to be very popular this week. Couple of other I'll go back to Ben Yan, didn't let me down last week, and Patrick Rogers, because I've just got Patrick Rogers in the 6K range. But yeah, I'm quite happy to go back to Ben Yan.
Yeah, there's quite a few names that you've listed off there that I've myself on my list. You mentioned Sam Ryder, so it would be a miss if we didn't reference Mark Spaceman on the show now that he's back in the player pool again. But yeah, Tommy Fleetwood, I'm with you on Tommy Fleetwood's probably my favourite player in the 7K range. I feel like I've picked Tommy Fleetwood every week. He is one of my favourite players on the tour, to be fair. But great approach player, better showing recently at the Genesis, knows his way around here. The course history's there. Chris Kirk, I'm completely with you on that. He comes here off the back of a win. Course history is difficult to ignore. Approach play and strokes gain, tee to green, particularly pleasing in his recent showings. And he's been gaining strokes with his putter in his last 5 tournaments as well. Hoagie Burr, Tom Hoagie, reasonably consistent round here. Decent showing at the Genesis. In the last 50 rounds, he ranks first in his strokes gained approach as well. Minwoo Lee, I mean, the course history is not there, but
good links player. If the wind gets up, very good links player.
He's played here once, and I think he missed the cut, but he's a better golfer now, and I like the commitment I'm seeing from him. I like the grind. I saw on Twitter, I think after his second round last week, when he knew he'd obviously made the cut, he was straight back on the driving range after his round that evening, late into the evening, just hitting balls on the driving range. I like that grind. I like seeing that, literally getting ready for the day after straight away. Approach play, ball striking, putting, tee to green, all those stats are up in 2023 than previous years, and considerably up as well. So I like what I'm seeing there from Minwoo Lee. I know he's in the 6K range. You mentioned Patrick Rogers. He's made 6 out of 7 cuts here. Recent form isn't good, but it's the right putting surface for him. Normally pretty strong short game as well.
What does the Q mean next to Ryder?
What does the Q mean? That means questionable.
Yeah, he pulled out last week from the Honda. He was meant to play there, so it's obviously an injury issue. I'm staying away. The ownership's wild as well.
Yeah. Yes, you mentioned Patrick Rogers. I know he's in the 6K range, but yeah, I agree with you there on that. Seabez, decent course history as well. You mentioned Moronk, again, I mentioned him last week, but he's just playing consistent golf at the moment, just keeps making cuts. So I again like that. Going into that 6K range, Jack, whilst we've touched on it, we might as well mention it. I'm happy to go back to Robbie Shelton again this week,
I hate it.
Turned it round after that poor first round. Ben Griffin, Alex Smalley, some of the other picks I like there. Charlie Hoffman's got stupidly good course history around here.
Yeah, I can't believe.
But no, I'm the same. But 2 top 10s, 2 top 15s in 4 of the last 5 years. Crazy. Zach Johnson's form's picked up a little bit recently. He's not missed a cut here since 2010. Short game and putting have been particularly good recently as well for him. So don't hate that play if you're a little bit short on funds. Anyone else in the 6K range before we start building a lineup?
Yeah, my favourite, my core play, and my third and final core play in the newsletter is in this range. Grillo, Emiliano Grillo. Terrible with names, but there you go. Yeah, it did. But he's finished in the top 26 in 4 of his 5 career appearances at Bay Hill. Been a bit of a mixed bag to start the season, a couple of missed cuts, but he did make the cut at the last time he was out at the Genesis, and did have a pair of top 5s back in the fall. So yeah, I'm quite happy to play him. This is where I'll get different. I'll get a 6K guy in, maybe another 6K guy, and then I'll get back into the 7K range for the rest of my build. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Grillo's the third and final piece of the core plays this week. I'll just mention a few. Patrick Rodgers, you've mentioned. I like JJ Spawn because I like the fact that he can win. I know he can win. Taylor Pendriff, Justin Sir. I'll go back to Eric Cole. I liked what he said in his interview at the end. And then, like you mentioned, Zach Johnson down there. Charlie Hoffman's got great course history, but I can't play him. Robbie Shelton, I'm happy to play. I mean, there's quite a few guys in this range. Sorry?
2 glove.
No, I'm not playing 2 glove. I think if I was going to go really down to like the 6-3 range, I'd probably play Webb Simpson. Did make the cut last week, but the guy can't putt for shit. So don't.
I mean, he makes the cut, but finishes 74th, about as low as you could finish making the cut.
Dead last.
What a fall from grace that is.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a golfer fall quite as much as Webb Simpson has fallen. It's crazy.
He the irons really well, just can't putt for shit. So
crazy. Let's throw some lineups together then, Jack. So we'll do the 2. We'll do top heavy, stars and scrubs, and we'll do a bit of a balance as well and see what we can do. Let's see what we can build with Ram and McIlroy. We're obviously going to have to come down a little bit here.
I'll stick Grillo in, then you do my call.
Throw in Grillo. Zach Johnson, do we throw in as well, do you reckon? 6'5"?
I'm just trying to. Yeah, you could do. You could Zach, but then that takes you back into the.
Takes us into the 7s.
7K for the last 2, which is not bad. 7-4.
Tommy Fleetwood at 7'5".
I think I would. Yeah, we both like Fleetwood. Stick Fleetwood in, and then it's down to 7-3, and I think you go to Hoagie.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you use up all the funds, and
I don't hate that lineup at all.
It's kind of what you've got to do, really. If you're going to have them 2 top guys in, you've got to go into that sort of mid to high end 6K range. You could
go really down in the 6K range, and then you push yourself right back up into the 7s again. But
yeah, like high 7s or low 8s. But I think like high 7s. I think the play there, like you said, Chris Kurt, Ricky Fowler, maybe. Do I like them more than Fleetwood? Not particularly. I'd probably go with Fleetwood. Let's see what we can build as a balance.
Good balance. Let's do Zalatoris. I think we both like Zalatoris, don't we?
Yeah.
Let's do Day and Hatton.
Tyrrell and Jason Day.
That's a 7-9. We go down to the 7. Should we stick Fleetwood in this one? We both like.
We'll go with Fleetwood again. Why not?
And then it takes us back up to 8-1. We could stick Ricky in. Ricky Fowler at 7-7.
Which takes us to 8-6. Tom Kim, we both said
that'd be your sort of punt in this one because it's like a balanced build. A lot of them guys are going to be popular. I think you either stick Tom Kim in or Sam Burns personally, and I think that gives you kind of the balanced build there with the pump play at the end.
The other way you could go in this lineup is if you wanted to try and get one of your top guys in again, you could come down to maybe low 7s, maybe even Patrick Rodgers level, which takes you back up to 9-4.
Who are you getting rid of, though?
What was that?
Who are you going to get rid of?
So I would say Ricky Fowler and Tom Kim. So that's just
go down to Patrick Rodgers. What does that leave you?
So it leaves us with 9-4. So we're back at sort of Finau, Schauffele, Victor Hovland kind of range.
Yeah, see, I only like Victor really or Schauffele in that range. I can't play Cantlay in Florida. Cantlay's awful in Florida.
I think if I was going to there, it would probably be Schauffele, but I don't really like this range. I'd probably try and get to Homer, and then 6-6. We're back at Grillo.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You could definitely, I don't hate that. So you could go Homer and, you could go Homer and Grillo. Like
you've got options there. You could either, like you said, stick around that 7K range and then target a sort of low to mid 8, or you could go down to the 6.5 and target a high 9. So it's whichever way you want to play it there. But I don't hate that lineup at all.
No.
Well, I think that rounds us off. Given that we were 25 minutes in, with no talk of the event at all, we've done well to round it up in just over an hour. We did get one question there as we were building lineups. What are your favourite cheap players that play PM on Thursday? I've not got the tee times up, so I will be honest, I don't know.
Grillo's my favourite player. He plays PM on Thursday.
There you go. Grillo, there's your man. That is us, Jack. We'll be back again next week. Where can the listeners find yourself?
You can find me on the Twitter machine at Jack Humphrey DFS. Make sure you sign up to the newsletter. I'm going to drop the newsletter literally. It'll be in your inboxes 10 minutes time.
Yeah. I know that the tracker chat has been lively, to say the least, this past week. But there's been quite a number of high risers in there. I know myself last week, I rose I think 600 spots. We're coming up to some of the events soon where the fields will be a lot weaker. That tracker is going to be invaluable for people. So it is not too late to sign up. $3.99, drop Jack a DM. You get access to the season-long tracker. And if you so wish, the tracker group as well.
Just one more thing quickly before we go. Head on over to the PFD show on Twitter. Our listener league this week, it's nearly full. There's about 4 spaces left in it. We're doing a giveaway. It's an NFT giveaway with 8-bit golfer. So head on over there. You'll see the NFT that we're giving away on top of on top of the money for the top 3 places this week. I'm going to win it this week. Spoiler alert, but there you go.
I just missed out last week. I came second in it. So if there's only 4 spots, I will go and reserve myself one. I'll go and build my lineups after my usual customary evening shower. You can find me at Nick of Wigan or in the shower at this time of night. We will be back next week. As always, drivers for sure, but putting for dough. We'll see you next Tuesday.